On this particular video, I am reading from Matthew chapter 6, reading from verses 19 to 24. I'll be reading the Greek, translating it into English with a brief commentary. So we pick it up in verse 19 in the Sermon on the Mount. Me thesaurizete humen thesaurus epites hapuses kai brosis aphanidze kai hapu kleptai diarususin kai kleptusin. Do not treasure up for yourselves treasures upon the earth, where moth and literally eating, and it's probably looking at rust that eats away, ruins, and where thieves dig through and steal. Jesus is warning against laying up treasures upon the earth, where moth and rust will ruin it, and where thieves can dig through a house. And at this point, you had your mud brick homes where they could dig through and steal. And this could be applied today by saying the stock market may change. Economics may affect what you're doing, or some serious situation could develop where your money is soon gone by way of application. So Jesus is warning against that, but he goes on to talk about where one should lay up treasure. Thesaurizete dehumen thesaurus in urano. Hapu uteses utebroses ephanidze kai hapu kleptai u diarususin ude kleptusin. Treasure up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust ruins, and where thieves do not dig through and steal. Notice Jesus is saying, lay up your treasures where they cannot be destroyed. Lay them up in heaven, where neither moth nor rust can destroy. But he goes on to say, Hapu gar estin hate sarasu, ake estai kai he cardia su. For where your treasure is, there shall be your heart. Jesus says, wherever we put our treasure, that's where our heart will be. And it is critically important that we lay up our treasure, not in this world, but in eternity. And where our treasure is, that's where our heart will be. In other words, we're going to put our focus of our treasure where our heart is. And that's so critical to understand. And may we have our heart looking forward to treasuring up in heaven and not here. Jesus then illustrates it further. Haluk luknas tu somatas estin ha an ophthalmas an u e ha ophthalmasu ha plus halantas somasu photenon estai. The lamp of the body is the eye. But if your eye be sound, and therefore if your eye be sound, all your body shall be shining. The lamp of the body is what you see. And he's making a metaphorical application. If you see money as your main goal in life, that's your lamp. If you see spiritual things as your main goal, that will give your whole body light. So he goes on to drive it home. And if your eye is evil, all the body shall be dark. If your eye is looking at material things rather than spiritual, I believe Jesus is saying all the body will be dark. That's where you'll put your attention. Eun tafos ta in soy skatas esten ta skatas pasan. And if the light which is in you is dark, then how great is that darkness? If the light that's in you becomes dark and you focus on the material instead of the spiritual, Jesus is saying it can blind you. And how great is that darkness then? And then he says you can't serve two masters. Notice verse 24. Udes dunatai duse kurios dulein, or duluin. That is, no one is able to serve two masters. Agar tan henan mise se kaitan hepteran agapese. For either he will hate the one and love the other. In other words, you cannot serve two masters. You cannot serve money and the kingdom of God by having a passion for money and the love of money. It won't work, he's saying. In other words, notice as he goes on, Echenas anthexetai kai tu heteru katafranese. For either one, he will hold fast to the one and will despise the other. In other words, you are either going to hold fast to the one, that is to the Lord, or to money and despise the other. You are not able to serve two masters. Notice Jesus says, Udunastetheo duluin kai mamona. You are not able to serve God and mamona. Mamona actually means money or earthly goods. If your passion is to serve earthly goods, and if all of life, if it's simply about making money, then you're not going to really take the time to serve the Lord, I believe is what he's saying. So you cannot serve God and mammon at the same time. God and earthly, can I say, goods. And that is really what a challenge that Jesus is giving us. We can't really serve two masters. And so often today, the big challenge, especially with materialism, is to go after earthly goods, to get a bigger house, a better car, a more expensive, let's say, phone, or you name it. But what Jesus is saying, no, we can't do that. We can't serve two masters. And we need to love the kingdom of God and serving Christ first and foremost, I think is what Jesus is teaching us here.